Hello, I'm Bill Twist. I'm one of the co-founders of the Pachamama Alliance, and I just returned from a trip to Ecuador. And we, the Pachamama Alliance, we've been working in Ecuador now since 1996, working closely with the Achuar people of Ecuador, where we first began our work. And I was just there because the Achuar were holding their annual Congress, or excuse me, not their annual Congress, but every 3 years they hold a Congress of their political organization, and they elect new leaders, a president, vice president, a director of territories, of education, of healthcare, communication, economic development. And this was a really particularly interesting election because there's a new dynamic that's existing now in Achuar territory. Historically, the government of Ecuador has paid little attention to the Amazon and to the indigenous people in the Amazon. And so the indigenous people in the Amazon were all united and have been part of an indigenous movement in Ecuador called Pachakutik, and that was their political affiliation. But the current government of Ecuador, the government of President Rafael Correa, has done a really amazing job over the last 7 or 8 years in expanding social development programs throughout the country. They've invested huge amounts in education, healthcare. It's made a big impact in the country, addressing poverty and inequality in the country. And that efforts of the government for the first time have started to reach out into the Amazon. So the Amazonian people, historically not paying any attention to the political system inside Ecuador, the last couple of years have gotten engaged with the politics, the political system inside Ecuador. And the question was, for indigenous people, did they continue to support Pachakutik, which is the historical indigenous movement, or were they going to support President Rafael Correa's political movement called Alianțele? And so that question had never really existed for the indigenous people before. So this is the first time the Achuar have had an election, electing their new leaders for their political organization, where there was this dynamic of to whether you supported Pachakutik or whether you supported Alianțele. The Achuar elected a new president, 6, 7 new officers, and the leaders were divided. Some of them had supported Alianțele, some of them had continued to support Pachakutik. So it was an interesting situation to find out what that really meant now that the Achuar had elected new leaders. The president, a man named Ruben Samarent, had been a big advocate for Alianțele. So when I went down there to meet with the new leaders, it was really because the Pachamama Alliance has been the main supporter of the political organization really since 1996. They wanted to meet with me as a representative of the Pachamama Alliance. I wanted to meet with them. Several of the people who were the new leaders I have known for years. But this dynamic of now, are they aligned with Alianțele or are they aligned with the indigenous movement, was something curious to see. And especially because Alianțele, or the president's party, is pushing for oil development in the Amazonian territory. So the president is pushing for oil development in Achuar territory. So it was really interesting because I thought what I learned was something that I thought the Achuar did a brilliant job of managing or squaring that engagement with the political process in Ecuador and their deep commitment to their territory. So they made at their assembly, they passed a series of resolutions. And one of the resolutions said something to the effect that Alianțele or Pachakutik, that's a political discussion that's for outside of Achuar territory. It doesn't have anything to do with inside Achuar territory. And inside Achuar territory, we're all Achuar. We're not Alianțele, we're not Pachakutik, we're all Achuar. And they passed a resolution at the assembly saying that they were absolutely, the Achuar absolutely are opposed to any form of oil development in their territory. So it's I think, a brilliant, not a strategy, but a brilliant position, or a really grounded position they have. They're looking at, they know the government has done a phenomenal job at social development, economic development in the country, and the government has a responsibility to fund projects for healthcare and education out in the Amazon, which they've never really done before. So they're saying they endorse what Aliançay País has done, and they endorse the phenomenal progress that President Correa has made throughout the country, and they want that progress to come out to their territory. However, they're absolutely firmly opposed to oil development. So they're acknowledging the great work that Aliançay País has done for the people of Ecuador, and the Achuar are standing firm, though, that oil development will not happen in their territory. I think it's going to be a really effective strategy. They're honoring, and they're going to be working with Aliançay País and the government's party when they can, but they're going to be standing firm against oil development in Achuar territory. So, you know, it was a real privilege for me to be down there again and meeting with the new leaders. I've actually been going down since 1996, the first time that I attended an assembly where they elected leaders. And I know that our ability to do this over the years, and our ability to be there for the Achuar consistently over these almost 20 years, makes a huge difference to them, knowing that they've got the support of our organization and the support of all the people behind our organization. So the fact that we can provide the support, both monetary support and technical support for them, is a result of the support that many of you and all of you have given to our organization. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for supporting the Pachamama Alliance and hopefully continuing to support us in the future. I think there's a really exciting episode that's going to be occurring in Ecuador over the next year or two, as this issue of oil development and the Achuar working with the government's policy, the government's party plays out. And I'm really confident that the Achuar will skillfully be able to navigate that they'll be able to get the proper amount of support and investment into their territory, and that they'll be able to stand firmly for the protection of their territory for the long term. So thank you very much.